It's now time to take a look at news making headlines across the globe. Of course, we begin with Nigeria's foreign policy news today, as Nigeria's battle to shape Washington's view of its internal security crisis has spilled into a lobbying war, with the federal government dramatically outspending Biafran secessionist groups as both sides seek President Donald Trump's ear over claims of a Christian genocide. According to the noted UK publication African Confidential, alarmed by Trump's threat last November to go into Nigeria guns a-blazing, President Bola Tinubu's administration and its allies have moved swiftly to counter separatist narratives in the U.S. capital, signing a $750,000 a month deal for 6 months renewable contract with the Republican-linked DCI Group to press Abuja's case on visa policy, military cooperation, trade and tariffs, and to emphasize government efforts to protect Christians and Muslims and combat jihadist violence. Well, the scale of the contract dwarfs that of the shadowy and unknown Biafran Republic government in exile, which is paying up $66,000 a month to the smaller Madison and Washington lobbying firm to push for sanctions against Nigerian officials, greater U.S. engagement with a putative Biafran administration, and even support for military strikes and favorable oil deals with Washington in an unidentified future Biafra. Well, the lobbying scramble has unfolded alongside intensified U.S.-Nigeria security contacts, including joint intelligence coordination and U.S. airstrikes on suspected jihadist targets in northern Nigeria over Christmas, underscoring how claims made in Washington are now intersecting directly with military, diplomatic, and commercial decisions affecting Africa's most populous country. Well, in a related development, the United States has delivered critical military supplies to Nigeria as part of ongoing efforts to strengthen bilateral security cooperation between the two countries. The delivery was confirmed by United States Africa Command, better known as AFRICOM, which oversees U.S. military operations across the continent. In a post on X, AFRICOM said the critical military supplies handed over to Nigerian partners in Abuja are in support of Nigeria's ongoing operations in tackling terrorism and banditry. It comes amid a broader security partnership between Nigeria and the United States. Well, AFRICOM has also pledged enhanced collaboration and support for Nigeria's National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, in its fight against illicit drugs. A senior AFRICOM delegation has met with NDLEA Chairman, retired Brigadier General Mohammed Marwa, commending the existing partnership and promising further assistance in capacity building and international cooperation. Philip Esk, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, that's DEA, liaison officer to AFRICOM, described the relationship between the NDLEA and the U.S. DEA as not only a partnership, but highly important to the U.S. government. Well, foreign policy is certainly dominating the news this morning as Nigeria's president has told global investors that the country is looking for partnerships that go beyond resource extraction and deliver jobs and value at home. At the 2026 Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week on Tuesday, President Bola Tinubu said Nigeria is ready to do business as he announced a new trade agreement with the United Arab Emirates and outlined plans to attract billions of dollars in climate finance.
At this forum with world leaders, investors and development partners, President Bola Tinubu frames Nigeria's climate strategy as part of the wider global shift, one that links energy, finance, food security and development. He says developing countries like Nigeria must not be forced to choose between climate action and economic growth.
At this defining moment in history, Nigeria stands with the global community, moving beyond ambition and towards delivery. The nation views the Nexus approach as an opportunity to align climate action with energy access, economic growth, job creation, and social inclusion. As articulated in COP30 in Belém, in Brazil, climate action must be fair and just. Developing countries require predictable climate finance, accessible technologies, and robust capacity building to support full climate commitment without losing focus on advancing their developmental priorities.
He points to regulatory reforms, new carbon markets and green bonds that are already helping to mobilize funding for clean energy and climate-resilient infrastructure, making a direct pitch to investors backed by figures.
It is in this spirit that Nigeria has launched a climate and green industrialization investment playbook to unlock $25 to $30 billion annually in climate finance. The Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority has launched a $500 million distributed renewable energy fund, while the World Bank is implementing the $750 million there.
But the president was quick to warn that Nigeria remains open for business on its own terms.
I take this opportunity to invite partners that ensure not just extraction of minerals, but local processing and value addition, thus creating jobs and strengthening industrial capacity at home in Nigeria. You are very, very welcome. Nigeria is ready to do business with you. It's easy in, easy out. We just want value addition.
Alongside the investment push, Tinubu announces a major diplomatic and economic breakthrough with the United Arab Emirates.
We welcome deeper engagement with UAE, sovereign investors, development partners, and private sector leaders to accelerate flagship projects that reflect all system goals. And the spirit of partnership, it is with great pleasure that I announce that Nigeria and the United Arab Emirates have successfully concluded negotiations on a comprehensive economic partnership agreement. This historic and strategic milestone marks a new era in our bilateral relations.
The deal is expected to unlock investment in renewable energy, infrastructure, aviation, logistics, and digital trade. And next month, Nigeria will co-host Investopia in Lagos with the United Arab Emirates. Tinubu says the country is now fully ready for business, balancing climate action with growth and opportunity at home. Adesoa Omoruan, Arise News.
All right, and now to politics. As the leader of the Kwankwasia movement in Kano and the 2023 presidential candidate of the New Nigeria People's Party, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, has accused the Kano state government of allegedly pressuring state officials to defect and declare for the All Progressives Congress APC in the state. Kwankwaso, while speaking in Hausa in a video posted on the verified social media of his media aide, Saifulai Hassan, alleged that he has received a lot of information on how the Kano state government is compelling officials and elected local government chairmen to sign for the Gandujia movement, a development he describes as disheartening, considering the effort of the NNPP to bring Governor Abba Yusuf into power. While wishing the governor well in his new political direction, Kwankwaso explained that his sudden change of position to allow supporters to choose for themselves was driven by the need to allow party members exercise their political rights freely and to reduce rising internal tensions within the NNPP in Kano State. Well, certainly yet to hear the last of developments from Kano State, Rufai, as the permutations continue to develop. And then, of course, foreign policy is a huge focus this morning. Your take on these big stories today?
Okay. So in Kano, with the case of Kwankwaso, it's finally accepted now that his political godson will join the APC. And he said in the interest of not exacerbating the tensions in town, that, yeah, he could go, but he said it in a very, cheeky way. He said it with a lot of remorse, like he has acknowledged the fact that he has lost the battle. But the question will be, will Kwankwaso follow his godson? No. And for other political godfathers that say it's a do or die affair, you can see Kwankwaso now and the governor of Kano. It's not that he tried to impeach the governor of Kano because he went to the APC. I don't know, maybe he might do that tomorrow. It's not that they made Kano ungovernable because there's a breakback between two people. It's not that he told his followers, oh, go and fight the governor. In fact, the allegation I was making was the fact that they are trying to coerce people to go with the governor. So you can see this case of a political godfather and a political godson. Because if it's in some areas, they will try to impeach the godson, they will have rallies where they abuse the godson, they will do all sorts. In fact, even for good measure, a state of emergency will have gone into all of this. They will have dragged themselves multiple times to the president. Elders in the land will have tried to intervene. Probably Pandef will have even spoken to them. So we are seeing two different areas. Because for those that kept on berating Fubara yesterday, let's remind them. There are videos that copiously show that Wike was constantly campaigning against godfatherism. And he also made promises that, oh, once I've left power, I've left power. I don't need to interfere any longer. The question we should ask is what changed? So let's see what will pan out in Kano. Even will Kwankwaso himself also leave? Secondly, the president went to Abu Dhabi for a conference. The question we should ask is, all these conferences President Tinubu has been going to, what has he brought for Nigeria? In the space of last year, President Tinubu didn't travel. He would travel well over 40 times. Question is, how much have that brought? If you go and check the data of foreign direct investment, FDI, not announced propaganda FDI, real FDI that came in, I'm not sure since President Tinubu got in, is up to 5 billion. 2023, maybe a little over 100 billion, a little over $1 billion. 2024, about that 1 billion mark. It's been 1 billion each. And the president have been gone for well over 100 and how many days, Peter Obi called it? 190 days. The good thing is, yes, they signed an agreement with the UAE government. Over 7,000 goods, you know, there's going to be tariff-free on all of that. You know, sort of like an AGOA-esque SEPA, they call it, all, you know, as, you know, ratified by the International Trade Law, GATT and the likes, which is all good. But the question is, we are signing trade deals. They are going to come to Investopia here. These are good signs. Jumoke Oduwole work could need kudos to her. But we are signing all of this. Vimbai, can single business people go to the UAE as we speak today? There are multiple visa restrictions between age 18 to 45. So can they enter the UAE as we speak today if they want to trade? So when will the president try to fix the visa restriction? But, oh, if we go back historically, you remember what happened. You remember how they said Dubai is back. And you remember what we got from it. You remember all the false announcements in the early days of this administration. One too many mistakes. President Tinubu, a lot of Nigerians are suffering in Dubai. To get work visas, difficult. Even from Nigerians that want to go and work there, to get work visas, difficult. For those that want to do tourist, single people, difficult. There's an age cap for them. So it impedes businesses. I think these are the things we should be able to work on more than ever before, rather than all of this signing. And hope we'll be able to follow up with these agreements. You were talking about an agreement we signed last year that we've not followed up on now.
No. It's this SEPA that they have now signed a year later.
That they have now signed a year later. Okay, it took a year. So let's hope that about a year after, we will not be taking another year to be able to look at the implementation of this SEPA. And the question we should now ask, tariff-free goods between Nigeria and UAE. Who is going to get the balance of trade and the balance of scale? What is the quality of the products we have to give? Are these goods high return goods? Is it that we are going to use this opportunity to pack our raw materials there, or we are going to add value? I think these are multiple questions we need to answer. I yield.
Okay, first, let me start with the Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week, January 11 to January 15. The outcome that we have seen there is Nigeria signing what they call a comprehensive agreement with the UAE, Economic Pact with the UAE. And two statements in that regard. One coming from Dr. Oduwole Dimiti, that's the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment. We call that the Minister MITI in our time. Now, then you have the statement from the President also saying that, look, this is an investment drive and we've been able to get some opportunities. Now, the agreement signed are in the areas of trade, real estate, digital banking, and also, what else is it? Yeah, infrastructure financing. And of course, there's that statement from Dr. Oduwole, a very lovely statement about the opportunities that will come to Nigeria. About 7,000 Nigerian goods, particularly in the area of agriculture, will become tariff-free. Nigerian businesses will now have the opportunity to access the UAE market and set up businesses. Nigerian businessmen have now been given the opportunity to spend 90 days in a year, just like that, in terms of visa access. So visa access was also addressed. And in other words, both countries, in a mutually beneficial arrangement, can also invest in Nigeria. And Nigeria can send more goods to the place. Okay, it all looks so nice. In February, the president says Nigeria is going to co-host what they call Investopia. From the title itself, it's about investments. However, what I found interesting in the statement by Dimiti is a statement about swift implementation. She devoted a paragraph to swift implementation. And that is where I think the rub is. In this country, we sign plenty of memoranda of cooperation, memorandum of understanding, memorandum of whatever, of commitment, whatever title they use. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has a desk that is devoted to cooperation, whether it's technical aid corps or multilateral agreements or bilateral agreements. The point I was making yesterday is that desk in the that directorate in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is weak. It's not enough to just sign memoranda. If you go to where they keep memoranda of understanding or whatever in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I'm sure they don't have space anymore. And most of them have not been actuated, because some people in that ministry are just absent-minded. And I was saying that it's not a personal task for the president. And I was speaking from knowledge, from understanding, as somebody who has been within that corridor. Now, those desk officers have to do their job. After these documents have been signed, there should be follow-up. There should be advice to the government of the day, the policy leaders. There should be, study, review, and then eventually impact assessment. We can't keep going about signing cooperation agreements and we don't see results. That is where the challenge is. No matter how beautiful, the statements that we're getting either from the president or Dr. Oduwole may sound. If there is no follow-up, if there is no follow-through, then it will just be like they went to Abu Dhabi to have a photo opportunity, or that they went on a jamboree, which is a popular phrase that many critics of the government use in this particular regard. So when we see the results, when we see the follow-through, we will believe that this is of benefit, truly, to the Nigerian people, as both Dr. Oduwole and President Tinubu try to point out. Now, as for lobbies. Now, lobbying is a standard, tested, old tradition within the American system. And the whole idea of lobbying is that you want your side of the story to be heard. So if Biafra, the people promoting Biafra, if they are going to the US and they are paying how much? $60,000 to sell their own story, that Igbos have been marginalized and persecuted in Nigeria, and that the idea of a Republic of Biafra will be a good proposition. I think it makes sense that the Nigerian government too is in that space. It's not about the money. It's about the fact that the Nigerian government wants to be heard so that there's not just one voice in the room. The other matter is Nigeria being designated a country of particular concern on October 30, 2025 by President Trump. So it's a very good diplomatic move to say we want to have our own people in the room. There's a group called Aster Legal also, in Kaduna, that we're told is representing the Nigerian government through the auspices of the National Security Advisor. On December 12, 2025, the Nigerian government paid $4.5 million for 6 months, and the contract is renewable for another 6 months. So the lobbyists, what they will be doing basically, is to get the Nigerian voice into the room to say, one, there is no persecution of Christians in Nigeria, or where it exists, the Nigerian government is addressing those issues, and religion is not, a major problem in Nigeria to the extent that this is, a neutral state when it comes to religion, which is well stated in Section 10 of the 1999 Constitution, and which the Minister of Foreign Affairs referred to at a forum, I think, in Germany. Now, the delivery of military supplies by the United States, this is evidence, this is a clear evidence that the cooperation that the Nigerian government talked about, that they said they needed, the assistance that they needed in dealing with the multiple threats that Nigeria faces on many fronts is real. And the Americans themselves have said there is mutual partnership between Nigeria and the United States. And now African Command, U.S. African Command, AFRICOM, as it is known, has now brought these supplies to support the Nigerian government. The mutual interest that is there is that the Americans themselves do not want, the Sahel region or West Africa to be turned into a hub, into a playground for, global terrorism networks. And so it's a question of shared interest. As for Kwankwaso, well, the people involved in the room, they are all adults. If they like, they will say they are leaving NNPP, they are going to APC. But the key point raised by Dr. Kwankwaso, which I think should be underlined, is his allegation that it looks like the APC is stealing people from other political parties and suppressing the opposition. Well, those who speak for the APC have said that is not the truth, and that it's people exercising their right to choose. But our long-term objective, as we move towards the 2027 general elections, that we do not want to have the kind of situation that they are going to have, that they are having right now in Uganda, in Myanmar, and that they have had in countries like Madagascar and Tanzania and Kenya, where, the ruling party believes that it has an absolute right to suppress other people. We will not support repression or intimidation in this country. We don't have anything. We will speak up. And finally, those Biafra separatists who are looking for lobbyists in America, they can spend their $60,000, but they should know, they should be reminded that is an act of sabotage against the Nigerian state. If you are still a patriot, if you are still a citizen, and you are sabotaging the Nigerian state, demarketing your country within the international sphere, there are consequences in that particular regard. Everybody should be well advised before we are told tomorrow that we are not supporting people who are following self-determination rules.
Absolutely. A lot of big topics to unpack this morning, but maybe for ease of transition, let me continue where Dr. Abati has left off in discussing the issue of foreign lobbying. Now, it's become very clear that we've moved into an era where narrative control supersedes formal diplomacy as we've known it. We've gotten into an era where the person who is able to shape the conversation around particular issues holds the power, as opposed to that era when it was more about that formal engagement, counterparts sitting down and meeting and exchanging ideas. Now, of course, foreign lobbying is nothing new. This is a multi-million-dollar industry globally. Some of the biggest countries that engage in foreign lobbying, Japan, South Korea, UAE, and they spend up to $40–50 million per year to ensure that their policy directives are pushed forward. But what we're seeing in this current Trump administration, specifically relating to African states, is a little bit different. We're seeing some certain minority groups and breakaway groups going to appeal to the extremities, if I may say, of Donald Trump to try and push their own agenda. This is most blatantly seen in South Africa, where the group called AfriForum, that represents Afrikaner rights, which is a minority group, have gone to lobby, and they've said that, well, we are being persecuted in our country. And we've seen that this has directly caused the breakdown of relations between South Africa and the United States. Now, in the instance of Nigeria, things are a little bit different, because the South African government have been able to bring out data and evidence to dispel all of what they have now categorized as disinformation around persecution of this particular group. The other thing is that this particular group are looking more for a safe haven. Well, you may call them a breakaway or a separatist group. That's AfriForum, who are looking for Orania, which is a land of Caucasians within South Africa where they can self-determine. Now, when you look at the Biafran group as they are being called, or that are engaging in this activity, then one has to ask ourselves, have we, in engaging with the American government, have we finished our data collection? Have we finished our national framework for a strategy to counter and to actually deal with the foundational issues on the ground? Or else this will end up being a PR exercise. So we don't want it to be a failed exercise in putting lipstick on an issue that has deep foundational roots. It must be a concise and a thorough exercise that addresses international engagement on one level while combating some of the structural issues that are here on the ground, which is what we link to the arrival of this consignment of equipment that has come. First of all, we hope that this is an instance of cooperation with the U.S. government, collaboration, with the U.S. government, and not cooperation. Collaboration means that you are peers on equal footing, agreeing on a way forward. Cooperation means that one group is being coerced or one group is beneath the other and is being strung along and forced into certain action. But we have seen results. The Nigerian Air Force have started doing airstrikes in Borno State, which have been a direct result of some of the information gathered by the US ISR, that's intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions of the AFRICOM flights that have been coming around. So in essence, what we are saying is that the engagement is welcome. However, let it be that this engagement is supported by action on the ground that deals with the core fundamental issues that have brought us to where we are, whether it be around persecution of Christians, insecurity, spike in terrorism. It should not be a PR campaign. It should be about ensuring that we are communicating real and legitimate actions that are being taken on the ground. I'll now quickly move to Abu Dhabi in the interest of time. Now, what the global conversation at the moment around sustainability and energy is called the energy trilemma. Can energy be accessible? Can it be affordable? And can it be sustainable? And when you listen to President Tinubu's speech at the Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week, you hear that there was a lot of emphasis on the Electricity Act 2023, the efforts to decentralize access to electricity, and the emphasis of trying to ensure that our rural communities become electrified. Now, one shall I say, lapse, I stand to be corrected. I hope I can be corrected. I was a little bit concerned that the president was speaking on the Electricity Act and issues around sustainable energy, but I did not cite the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu. I know we've gone into political season, and I hope it's not because of any other ambitions, any other commitments pertaining to politics that he wasn't on this engagement, but it would have been quite encouraging to the optics if we had seen the Minister of Power on the seat as the president delivered this compelling case for the Electricity Act 2023. Now, another issue pertaining to the Electricity Act 2023 is that as we sell it to outside investors and partners that we do need to boost our electricity infrastructure, the question is, how well are we doing in ironing out the niggling issues? We saw Enugu try to be a pioneer in trying to localize electricity generation and pricing and so forth, and we see that those issues have not been resolved. There's on paper, it's still a great piece of legislation, but practicalized and implemented, we're yet to see it work practically speaking and effectively. I close by saying the UAE is a great source of export for Nigerian gold. However, the Minister of Solid Minerals has reiterated, and several groups have reiterated over the years, that the majority of the gold that goes out, not just to UAE, but generally out of Nigeria, is smuggled gold. Now, I hope this CEPA agreement is going to create an infrastructure that allows us to legitimize the gold that is leaving, valued at over, among other minerals, valued at about $9 billion. I hope that this framework will allow us to legitimize, not just to legitimize, but also to add value to that gold that is going to the UAE markets.